again to Daily Life Connection. Thanks for joining me. 2 Samuel chapter 9, Mephibosheth. The story of Mephibosheth and how it reveals God's heart. Again, let's explore it a little further today. We already talked about this a little bit, but I want to explore it in a different way. David says to Mephibosheth, I'm going to restore everything to you, and I want you to eat at my table. Well, what was his table like? It was a table of the king. There wasn't any scrimping at the table of the king. Only the best stuff got to the table of the king. And there was always a table of plenty. It was a table that never ran out. When they passed around the fried chicken, I don't know if they had that, but when they passed around the fried chicken, you didn't have to think, I better take 2 pieces because it may be all gone by the time I go for my second piece. Because you knew as soon as that platter of chicken was gone, another one would be brought out. It's the king's table. It was a table fit for a king. It represented grace. It represented grace. That never-ending favor and blessing and goodness of God poured out and given without any regard to our condition. You see, nobody at that table would have dared, the servants would not have dared come and said, now Mephibosheth, you're lame, so you only get 1 piece. All the rest of the sons and daughters get as much as they want. That would not have happened because David had ordered, he's at my table, he eats at a table like the rest of the royal family does. A table of plenty. Jesus calls us to that table. In the upper room at the Passover meal, he said to his disciples, he took the bread and he blessed it and he broke it and he gave it to them and he said, take and eat, all of you, even Judas, so broken, so wounded. We don't know Judas's backstory, but there's something there that he was so broken and so wounded and so misunderstanding Jesus that he was willing to betray him. But Jesus said, take and eat. You're at the king's table, Judas. I want you to have it all. He gave them the cup and he said, take and drink from it, all of you. Peter, you're going to deny me. You have no loyalty to me whatsoever. You're a fickle kind of guy, but I want you to feast at my table. That's David. He's saying, Mephibosheth, you may be lame in both feet, but you're at the king's table and you're going to eat just like the princes who are uncrippled. The perfect ones, my perfect children. You're going to eat just like them. That's the goodness of God. That's what the table of God is, a place of grace. It's really talking about the grace of God, isn't it? And I wish somehow I could communicate the power of the grace of God. Grace upended everything. U2 has a song called Grace, the rock band U2. And in it says that grace upended karma. Now, karma is the philosophy that we get what we deserve. We reap what we sow. And grace totally upends that. As we see in the prodigal son story, he sowed dissolute living, one translation says, which means self-centered living. He squandered everything. He lived in disillusion. He lived in just wild revelry. But karma would have said, then when he comes home, he's going to have to really pay all that back. But grace says, I'm going to just richly bless you with more than you ever had. I'm going to give you more than you've even wasted. That's grace. And that's this table. Mephibosheth, I'm going to give you back more than you've even lost. At my table, this place of plenty and bounty and goodness at the table of the king, the richest of foods, the best of wines, the best was at the king's table. And David said, I want you to have it all. That's Jesus. Jesus is our place of grace. Let me say it again. Jesus is our place of grace. In him is every blessing. Every blessing is ours in him. And it's just totally free. It has nothing to do with our ability to be changed or transformed. It has nothing to do with our brokenness. It's just because he loves us and wants to bless us. Come and eat at my table, David says. And that's exactly what Jesus says. Come to me. Come. Come. Feast with me. Over and over, Jesus told banquet stories, didn't he? How the king, representing his father, had great wedding banquets and invited everybody, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the least and the last. Everybody's welcome at the table of the king. And that's incredibly good news. Mephibosheth's story reminds us of that. So go ahead, pull up to the table of the king today. His grace isn't going to run out, and it's more than enough, and it's really, really good. That's good news. Let's talk again tomorrow.